So your boss, Filippo Gori, yesterday said the pace of opening of the China market has been remarkable. Of course, JPMorgan wants to increase its footprint there. We know Jamie Dimon has talked about he wants that JPMorgan moniker on the top of a skyscraper someday in Shanghai, wholly owned. Where are we in the JPMorgan's pursuit of having a full ownership?
We do have a logo on the building in Shanghai Tower.
Yep, I know. 100% though. What's the trajectory and what time frame are we looking at?
Good news, commercially, we have all the agreement with our partners. For our securities, for our asset management unit, our futures unit is already 100%, just granted last year by the CSRC. So we're already operating as the first foreign fully owned futures and options company. Now, our bank has always been 100% since 2007. On securities, on asset management, the last remaining two major four legal entities. We have the commercial agreement with our partners. We have been working with local regulators since last year. So for the securities one in particular, we have handed in our application and they have received it. So we've gone through multiple rounds of Q&A. Fingers crossed. Our target is to get it done as soon as possible because after that, a lot of work needs to be done.
A lot of hiring.
Capital injection, staff hiring, putting products on the ground, integrating with our global infrastructure because we see it really as one piece of our wholesale businesses, and then how to work out collaborations, client servicing, enhancing across the legal entities. So a lot of work to do. So this is really number one inning only.
First inning?
Yes.
Okay, probably going to go extra innings, more than 9 innings, yeah. It's going to be a long process, obviously, because you have to get through the regulatory hurdles. And yes, China has pledged to open up to foreign financial institutions. But again, it's a glacial pace sometimes. But there's been a lot of opening up, lately. Are you satisfied with the pace?
I think overall we are. The reality is this is a huge market with even bigger potential. So no one can afford to miss it. If you look at the bond market, stock market, already number 2 in the world. But you compare that capital market size to the economy versus G4, there's at least a doubling impact if you look at comparing the comparables. Then you have looking at the speed of the opening up, the index inclusion in bond stock with all the opening of access, and eventually a lot of touch points, access points probably go back onshore. So look at that speed of the growth, like we talk about last time we spoke, 250, 300 billions of bond inflow, and probably a fraction of that in equities, but all those are happening. Last year alone was probably 160 billion plus in bond inflow. So this is actually changing a lot day to day. Like instead of just operating from offshore, New York, London talking to clients, or Hong Kong as a hub, increasingly a lot of the color, a lot of the activities go onshore. And the whole thing's getting bigger. So for us to serve our clients right, we ought to be there, and in fact, in front of it. So investment in legal entity, product onshoring, technology, middle back end offers, and then are all just baked so that we can get the best talent, so that we can offer better services.
That must be one of your biggest priorities then. The mandate is on you to hire the best people and enough people. How many people are you going to need if you're going to meet that goal of 100% eventually?
It's a hard one, Steve. We ramped up close to probably 16, 17% per annum of staffing. I think the speed problem is not a matter of where we want to be. It's more a matter of course, there's an angle of products onshoring and regulations changing to enable us to do business. But the other is finding the right talent, having the right culture, ability to understand how tight we are on risk and control, our utmost focus on intensity on clients' interests, and how to sort of understand local culture while deliver our global expertise. I mean, that's where I think the whole industry is running into a pretty big supply-demand issue. And I don't think this is going to be alleviated anytime soon.
Do you see junior bankers jumping off to tech companies? There's a lot more job migration in the younger workers.
You're in the media business.
I'm not young anymore.
It's the same. I think the challenge is as the pie grows, there are a lot more opportunities. The opportunity cost of hopping will go lower. But we just need to make sure our platform stays the best. So that's why our investment is actually front-running with our technology, our operation to ensure onshoring system, our capability that's really help people grow, and that the platform will be one of, if not the most competitive global service offering. We need to be coherent, and we have a lot of benefits, right? Like let's just look at IB. So a few of us are very competitive. Look at corporate commercial banking. A few of us are very competitive, but just to have a globally competitive IB and corporate and commercial banking in the same shell. It's already, they're only probably one or two. And then you add to strong markets, security services, then you have AWM, and you've talked to our colleagues, and you know our activities in CIFM and also a partnership with CMB.
Yep.
So all those are paving us to be the most complete, right, but not comprehensive. We want to have a coherent offering for clients that is the best.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of different ventures, obviously. You mentioned CIFM, you mentioned the wholly owned futures business, the private wealth, mutual funds, of course, the securities venture, which we're hearing it's going to be up to 71% before eventually 100%. What kind of capital needs are you going to need over the next 3 to 5 years?
In fact, we have commercial agreement to get to 100. So again, like, is in the good hands of our onshore regulators, but I trust our ability to link up the world with China and vice versa will be a primary driver for our eventual reality of getting it and then putting in the products. But again, I mean, getting people is really the speed hurdle for how quickly we grow. And then, of course, the other is getting the license. Capital, we injected capital into the bank. We got 100% with the futures and options one. We're working on one on securities, and you know, when you look at the asset management one, is not as capital intensive as wholesale banking, but at the end of the day, we see this as part of our mothership. So the goal is ensure that we have enough capital support to support the local businesses.
Last time we talked was 2 years ago at the JPMorgan Summit in Beijing. There's been a lot of geopolitical pressures since then. There's been COVID, obviously. How have these external threats really maybe hindered or affected negatively your pursuit for that goal in China?
It's not been easy, Steve. You have been through this. In fact, however, I think the whole industry is looking at the long game. There ought to be a compelling institutional offering in China to be globally complete. I mean, for us, the mission is very clear. So, but however, despite all the challenges, clients still need a solution. Like, we obey all laws and regulations everywhere, but our goal is to help clients. We have to be where our global clients are, including our Chinese clients. So I think along the way, we managed to solve a few problems. There are some that are a lot more difficult, but ultimately, the goal is to ensure that we are as competitive as all our competitors, if not a little bit better than them, a little bit ahead of them, to be able to understand the landscape and offering the best advice to them. So I think we're doing pretty okay with that.
I'm going to keep pushing you on the hiring numbers. Sometime I'm going to get you to tell me how many people you need. All the other banks are telling us they need to hire X number of people. You know, you guys keeping that close to your vest.
We have, but we already have one of the most complete, probably the most complete foreign setup. And even local banks come to me and say, come on, Mark, like you guys, Mr. Leung, you guys have the most complete licenses. Even foreign conglomerate FIG do not have as complete as us. But so the key is how we find the right people that has the JPMorgan DNA and a local culture to be in our organization. That is our speed hurdle, not other things.
1 year from now, I'm going to preface all my questions with, come on, Mark.